So, any questions from last lecture? So, in last lecture, we looked at stack operations, and we have seen there are mainly two operations are there, push and pop, and there are many other operations. Push and pop are the operations to insert element and to remove the element from the stack. And in the stack, the item which is inserted last will be removed first. So this is called the LIFO order that we have seen in the last lecture. And we have seen this push operation. Is my screen visible? Push operation.
Yes, sir.
Okay, any question from this push operation? No. Okay. Now I change my screen to pop operation. Is it visible? So any question in pop operation? Then peep operation. This peep operation tells us the value of the ith element from the top of the stack, and uh, this is just to know the value of ith element, right? This peep operation will not remove the element from the stack. So this we have seen. The next operation is the change operation. Any question in peep operation? No. Right. So now, is my screen visible? This peep change operation.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so this change operation changes the value of the ith element from the top of the stack to the value which you pass in the argument x, and stack is represented by vector s containing the n elements. So this is the short description of this procedure. Now suppose in the stack you want to change the value of some ith element from the top of stack, then you can use this procedure. So Now suppose this is stack, this is top pointer, this is the value which I want to change, and this is the ith element from the top of stack. I means ith element from the top of stack. Okay. So now the first thing we need to do is we have to check for the stack underflow, because the value which we want to change, the ith location from the top of stack must be containing some element. Then only we will be able to change the value. Otherwise, if the value of I is greater than or what I say equal to or only greater than, what do you say? If the ith value is yeah, if the I value is greater than or equal, no, only greater than. If the value of I is greater than the top pointer, then it definitely going to be a underflow condition. Suppose there are 3 elements in the stack. Suppose this is my stack, right? And this stack has 3 elements, right? And my top of stack is at third location, right? 1, 2, and 3. Suppose there are 3 elements in the stack and my top of stack is pointing to the third top element. Now if I enter I equal to 4, say I equal to say 4, so this is greater than top, so it would cause the underflow condition, right? So here you can see the in the first step we need to check whether the stack is becoming underflow or not. So for that we have to check top minus I plus 1 is less than or equal to 0 or not, right? So this is so if this is the case, then we can write that stack is underflow on change and we have to return it. But now suppose value of I is less than or equal to the top, then we can change the ith element from the top of stack. So for that you just change that element with the value x. This is a very simple procedure, right? And then return. Is it okay? Can I go ahead? Change operation. Okay, let's go ahead. Now next is the stack applications. Recursion, there are many stack applications. Some of them are listed here, and this we discussed in a very short manner in the last lecture. Let's see one by one in detail. So let's start with recursion. So recursion, you must have heard this name recursion. I don't know how much knowledge you have about the recursion, so I will cover it from the scratch, right? So those who don't know recursion and those who have not done the programs in recursion, they also can get benefit of this topic. So recursion is a procedure that contains a procedure called to itself or a procedure called to second procedure, which eventually causes the first procedure to be called. So this is known as a recursive process. So you might have heard this very famous definition of recursion, that function calls itself, that's all. So this is a smallest definition of the recursion, function calls itself. So this is the recursion. So this recursion is a very important process in the our computer field. And yet another definition, the process in which function calls itself directly or indirectly is called recursion, and the corresponding function is called the recursive function. So uh, now, after looking at the definitions, we need to know what are the purposes of recursive concept, what are the applications. So certain problems, some problems can be solved quite easily with the help of these recursive algorithms. The example of such problems are towers of Hanoi, right, TOH, we will see later on in detail. Then in order, pre-order and post-order tree traversals. So you have not studied tree, so uh, uh, it can be difficult for you to understand what this in-order, pre-order and post-order traversals are. Right? So tree is a data structure in which the data items are stored as the nodes of the tree and leaves of the tree. And tree-like structure you must have seen at many places, like family tree. You must have heard this, right? So in family tree, as we draw the tree, the from our ancestors to the younger generations. So this is we do in the family tree, and now we want to uh, traverse this tree in some order. Like there are three orders in which we can traverse a tree. For that, recursion is a very important process, and very useful to do these traversals. Then DFS of graph, depth first search. DFS means depth first search. So of graph also can be done with the step. Now for the recursion, there are two important conditions which must be satisfied. The first important condition is each time procedure calls itself, whether it is directly or indirectly. Each time procedure calls itself, it must be nearer in some sense of solution. Right? So this is a very important condition. If your recursion is not taking you towards the solution, then it is useless. Right? You are going somewhere uh, where you are just wasting the resources. So your recursive function after every call must go nearer to the solution. This is the first condition. Now second condition is there must be a decision criteria for stopping the process or computation. So your recursive function must have decision criteria. If it do not have decision criteria, then your recursive function will go in infinite loop, right? So this is the two important conditions. You must remember it. Then second, next is two type of recursions are there. One type is a primitive recursive functions, and these primitive recursive functions are the in which the recursively defined functions are there. Right? The example of factorial is given here. You see factorial of n equal to, here some explanation is required. So factorial of n equal to 1 if n equal to 0, otherwise n into factorial of n minus 1. So let me explain this. Suppose I call this Suppose I call factorial of 3, then what will happen? Suppose this is the I have called, right? So in the factorial of 3, I call, if you see the function here, 1 if n equal to 0. Here n is not equal to 0, n equal to 3. And here then I will have to call this n into factorial of n minus 1. So I have to write here 3 into factorial of n minus 1. That means 3 minus 1 equal to 2. So let me write here 2. Okay. Now in this factorial of 2, again I will call again, this is not 0, so I will call what? 2 into factorial of 1. Yes or no? Getting this? Then in factorial 1, I will call what? 1 into factorial of 0. Right? All of you are getting this? So now look at this screen. Now if if n equal to 1, if n equal to 0, then return 1, right? Otherwise return this. So here, now here n equal to 0, so what should I do? Here it will return 1, right? This will so see n equal to 0, then 1. So that means all this will be replaced with a 1. Now this fact 1 is replaced with 1 into 1. That means 1, right? And this factorial of 2 is equal to 2 into 1. So it will be replaced by 2. And this factorial of 3 equal to 3 into 2 equal to 6. So 6 will be written. So this is called the primitive recursive functions, where recursively defined functions are used in the logic. And now next is the non-primitive recursive function. Anyone has doubt? This factorial is a very famous recursive function. It's a best example of the recursion process. Next is the non-primitive recursive function. Here, see, in the primitive recursive functions, we were recursively calling the functions, and here in non-primitive recursive functions, we recursively define the procedures. And this is the example of it. That is the Ackermann's function. This Ackermann's function was designed specifically to demonstrate the non-primitive recursive process. Now, what one main thing you have to remember this. Every primitive recursive function can be converted to loop. So whatever you are doing with primitive recursive function, you can do with loops also. But this is not the case with non-primitive recursive functions. Non-primitive recursive function cannot be converted to the loops. So you must use the non-primitive recursive functions, right? While in the primitive recursive functions, you have choice. You can either do it with loops or you can either do it with the recursive function. So next is, I hope there are no questions in chat. Okay. One more thing I would like to tell you now is, can you see my screen? One. So it is better if you put your photos, go to the profile and change your photo, right? So that it looks like I'm teaching to class. Otherwise, this all one, right? Uh, it's a boring look. So better you put your pictures, or even if you want, you can keep your video on. So how many of you are attending this lecture through mobile? Type 1, 2, 3 and so on. One after one, we have to type 2, 3. Yeah. Okay, all are typing together. That's why. So many are there. Okay. Oh, the almost 50% class is accessing using mobile. Okay. So now let's go to the next. So this is a very famous difference, the difference between iteration and recursion. So first of all, in the mode of implementation, in the iterative process, we implement the logic using the loops, and in the recursive process, we implement is using the functions. So function calls itself. Now, in the state point of view, iteration is defined by control variables value, while recursion, it is defined by parameter values stored in the stack. So this I can explain you. As you write for integer I equal to 0 to I less than 10, I plus plus. So here you are define the iterative process with the help of control variables. I is a control variable. While in the recursion, it is defined by the parameter values stored in the stack. So the parameters which you are passing in the arguments, for example, factorial of n. So n is the argument which I passed. So this is the difference. Next is the progression. The value of control variable moves towards the value in condition, while the function state, while in the recursion, the function state converges towards the base case. So this is the difference. Next is the termination. So in the iterative process, loop ends when control variable's value satisfies the condition. So if you say I less than 10, and if your I is incrementing, and as soon as I become 9, so I less than 10. So this is the true condition. And when I becomes 10 in the next round, so 10 is not less than 10. So termination is when the control variable value satisfies the condition. And recursion ends with the base case becomes the true. So when in the factorial we have said if n equal to 0, then return 1. Then code size, the iterative code tends to be bigger in the size compared to the recursion. In the recursion, the size of code is very less, and no termination state. If no termination state, then infinite loop uses the CPU cycle. And in the case of recursive process, if you do not mention the terminating condition, then infinite recursion may cause stack overflow, because recursion uses the stack. When you call function by the function itself, then whenever function is called, the parent function's parameter are pushed on the stack, and then the function which is called, it is executed. And in that again, when the function calls itself, the parameters are pushed in the stack. And execution is faster in the case of iteration, and in the case of recursion, the execution is slower. Why it is slower? Because every time function is called, the stack operation is involved. Every time function is called, the parameters of the functions and the current location of the function, everything is pushed to the stack, while in the iteration, right, the iteration is goes on one by one, and no stack operation is involved in it, so it is faster, while here it is slow. So this is the flowchart of iterative process. In the iterative process, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
So in iterative process flowchart, we do the entry with the initialization, right, like I equal to 0. Right, and then we take the decision like I is less than 10. Right, so this is the decision parameter, decision condition. If the decision is not done, then do the computation, and next is the update. Update means I plus I plus plus. Right, this is the update, and this is the computation. And when I is is not less than 0, then return to the program. So this is how iterative process works if we look it in the descriptive way. Clear everyone, this flowchart?
Yes, sir.
I plus plus is visible on the screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the description of iterative process. first we do the initialization, right? The parameter of the function and the decision parameters in this part are set to their initial values. The decision parameters is used to determine where to exit from the loop, right? And next is the decision. The decision parameter is used to determine whether to remain in the loop or not, right? And computation. The required computation is performed in this part. And lastly, we update. The decision parameter is updated and transferred to the next iteration results. So these are the descriptive steps of the iterative process. Any question in this? Now we are going to see about recursive process flowchart. So here if you see my recursive process flowchart has the first step, that is a prologue, and in this there is an entry and save formal parameters, local variables, and return the address. This is my first prologue. Then next comes the text, right? In the body part of the function, here you can say this is like calling the factorial. This phase is like suppose I call factorial of 5. So when I call this, it will save the formal parameters. This value of 5 will be stored, any local variables will be stored, and return address will be stored. Return address means after returning from this function where has to be returned, right? Here we want to return, right? Suppose this is the program, it has equations, and then this is also the equation, one statement. There are statements above the calling of this function and below the calling of this function. So after this function is returning, we have to return to this address. So that address also need to be pushed to the stack. Then next is the body. So what we do in the body? In the body part of this recursive process, we check the condition, right? We test, and if it is an intermediate level, that means in the case of this what we say factorial, right? We check if n equal to 0, that means a final computation. Otherwise, if n is greater than 0, right, then it is intermediate level. Then do the partial computation. What this partial computation was? The partial computation was n into factorial of n minus 1. and then this procedure call to itself, right? This you can see here, procedure calls itself, and then what you need to do after procedure call to itself, what you have to do is save for, say this is the save formal parameters and local variables and return to the address, right? So this is what it happens, and after the, say, terminating condition, sorry, and the last epilogue, right? We have three parts: prologue, body, and epilogue. In the epilogue, restore the most recently saved formal parameters, local variables, and return the address. That's all, and exit. So this is the process of recursive function. Next is the recursive process. Right? Recursive process in the descriptive way. What flowchart we have seen. In the prologue, we save the parameters, local variables, and return address. And in the body part, if the base criteria has been reached, we then perform the final computation and go to step 3. Otherwise, perform the partial computation and go to step 1. So this is a very important part of the recursive process. Then epilogue, last, the restore the most recently saved parameters, local variables, and return address. So go to this return address. Now here you have to keep in mind these 3 steps happens for every function. Every function that is called, these three steps are done. So this prologue, body, and epilogue are the 3 main functions which done with every call. So this is all about today. Any questions from your side now? So okay, let me stop recording.